June 25th at 7:30 p.m. Ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
The Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, who had such a good training camp last year, and it looked like he was pretty good, I believe, in the preseason, if I'm not mistaken, ended up going down for the full year. The Vikings are still obviously committed to him.
They knew that McCarthy was going to be available at some point in June. And McCarthy actually went on record last week and confirmed 2 weeks ago he was cleared medically. He did work last week. And he's going to be their starter.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I'm with you in that you're going to have to take calculated risks. And that's what Leon Rose has been about since he's been here. And he's been measured. He hasn't been gung-ho in terms of mortgaging this franchise's future for immediate gains. They have had a prudent approach, and you're going to have to roll the dice in certain respects to get to that top level. And you're right, Donnie, when you look at next season, all things considered, you hope that they're healthy, and if they roll over, say, 85 to 90% of this roster, this is a top 3 team in the East. With Boston coming down, you know Milwaukee is going to come down, and so you have to figure it's going to be Indiana, the Knicks, the Cleveland Cavaliers in some sort of order in the preseason rankings. And so where they go from here, Jason Kidd is obviously the hot name right now. Things both sides are interested from what we've heard in terms of Kidd and the New York Knicks. Is he that championship caliber coach to take the Knicks there?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, it's Sunday morning, and you know it's the place to be right here on the SportsGrid Network, Sirius XM Channel 159. It's pro baseball today. Donnie Rightside and Tom Vecchio. And over the next 2 hours, we have you covered on all the hot topics that you need, that should be discussed. What happened last week? We handicap every single game on the Major League Baseball card. It's how we get down on the grid, Tom. I'm happy to be here today. It's hot outside, and we're ready to do some business.
Great to be here. Like you said, very hot today. Over the past 2 days, over the next coming days, it will be very hot. That means there should be plenty of offense, and that's going to be one of the main topics we discussed today. Basically, every game on the slate is like, oh, we got hot weather, we got wind blowing out, prime for plenty of offense. We've got a couple topics around the league to touch on. We're approaching, July, which is like the de facto halfway mark, essentially, as we about to hit the All-Star break. We got, 5 weeks left before the trade deadline. We've already seen some trades go through, some big name trades. Let's get rolling.
Yeah, we're a handicapping show, and that's what we love. So we always like to share the insights and sort of information that we have, which, again, we go through over the next 2 hours. But let me ask you this, Tom, because it's the perfect time to ask this question. Like, we see like March and April, right? So, colder conditions. May starts to warm up. June, we start to get rolling. Then the dog days of summer in July and August. We are seeing unbelievable temperature surges over the past couple of days. So I wanted to ask you this question to let the people know, like, how do we account for that in our handicapping? Like, 2 good pitchers on the mound, but you look at a place like Wrigley Field, let's just say, 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out, 90-plus degree temperatures. Is it almost like you say to yourself, you just have to fade the environment and not worry about the pitchers because if we're hitting fly balls, they're going yard?
Yeah, that's what it really does come down to at a certain point. The thing I would, that's like the first domino. The second domino of that question is the odds are going to be changing. Like, the books know this. So sometimes we see players that are normally, let's just call like minus 250, that I like to use for a hit parlay. Some of those players now up to minus 300, minus 350. So when you're trying to add that next player to whatever you're doing, all of a sudden we're not getting the same odds. So yes, the environment is significantly better, but that does impact the odds. So we do have to use that as a part of the equation. Like, listen, I love this spot. So instead of maybe going for, 2 HRR, could you go to 3? Yep. Could you go for 3+ total bases? Try and look there, or you just have to use it as a piece in something else because the odds are going to be changing with the weather changing.
It's such a good point you bring up. Like, I love alternative team totals here. And typically, Tom, I can put together 3 of them at around a 2.5. I'm like, okay, that's going to pay back at a plus 110, plus 105, maybe a minus 120. I'm putting 3 and 4s now together and trying to keep it under 150. But it's worth the premium that you pay because you are going to get extra runs just because of the way that ballpark sets up and just because of the way the heat, humidity, and wind are blowing that day, and a lot of great spots. And also, like we talk about the home run props, some of them are crazy. Like a couple days ago, Aaron Judge popped up there like a plus 109 at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Like Cal Raleigh like a plus 130 today. So you're saying, oh, I don't want to pay that. But if you're going to give somebody an environment of 90 degrees and the wind blowing out and they're due for a home run, this is what you get. How crazy it sounds.
It really is. Like some of these odds that we have seen, I saw was Judge today plus 160 something plus. I thought it was 167 exactly that I saw earlier this morning when I first got to everything. Like 167 is an insane price. At that point, I would rather play something else. I would rather play 4 plus HRR. I'd rather play 3 RBIs because I mean we have to check the odds, but I'd rather go for something that's 2.5 to 1 rather than 167 for a home run, which I think is insane.
And as we said, like the heat is on. And by the way, the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles today, Tom, they're going to tee it up at 11:35 Eastern. And then we have a 12:10 game between Detroit and Tampa Bay. So we are going to get started early on these games and often. And also both of those situations, hot conditions in both of those ballparks there. We'll get to those in just a little bit, Tom. But we always love to say, what were the hot topics last week? What actually happened? And the shame of it was, we do this show every Sunday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern. And we're like, all right, here we go, right into the baseball season. But I remember, or baseball day. Last Sunday night, I'm like, okay, let's get down. Who are you going to bet here in this game? Ooh, look at this. Kyle Harrison scratched you from the starting pitching spot here for the San Francisco Giants. And word comes down like a lightning bolt. Rafael Devers traded from the Boston Red Sox to the San Francisco Giants. Unbelievable theater there. What did you feel when that went down last Sunday night, right before the game?
Obviously, there was a lot of intrigue coming into the season with Rafi and throughout the season, different storylines. He didn't want to play third, or he wants to play third. He didn't want to DH. He didn't want to play first after Casas got hurt. When it's all said and done, this is an absolute win, I think, for the Giants. And I want to say this is just objectively bad from the Red Sox. I understand that there were a lot of difficulties between him and the front office, and it's dating back over years. It's not literally just this season. But when it's more about looking at the return for the Red Sox, Bryce Lockridge is the top prospect for the Giants. And yes, he is a first baseman. And yes, they have Casas there. He's done for the season. Regardless of that, it's more about acquiring talent. You got 2 pitchers, one of which you sent down to AAA, and then you don't even get the Giants' top prospect back for your centerpiece of your franchise. And we still have rumors before this that the Sox were potentially shopping around Jarren Duran, who the Padres have interest in. So you're going to be removing 2 of your best hitters, absolutely your best hitter with Devers, and then you're not getting a quality return back. That's the issue. If you want to move him because there's difficulties with the front office and the ownership, fine, but you have to get a premium return, and the Sox didn't do that.
It's incredible because to me, it just felt like a salary dump for a team that shouldn't be looking at salary dumps. Like we always make some jokes about the Miami Marlins. Like there was a time where they had Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, JT Realmuto. I'm like, we're not paying these guys. And we paid Giancarlo Stanton a ton of money. Somebody please take him. And the Yankees did. Like from a Red Sox perspective, I understand like we have some good prospects that are coming up. But when is it in a major market, which again on Forbes magazine, Tom has them listed the 3rd overall most valuable franchise in Major League Baseball. Like, oh, we got to get rid of Devers so we can re-sign. You should not operate like that. And I was surprised. And you're right. The first thing you look at is who did they get back? Is it a game changer? Is it the top 3 prospects that you say, you know what? We have this young wave coming up in Boston. Let's add another couple more pieces. It's going to be exciting for the next 5 to 7 years. You got none of that. Like you say to yourself, okay, Kyle Harrison, average pitcher right now, maybe he turns into something. Jordan Hicks, like that 5 ERA type guy, and a couple of prospects. It just seemed like a salary dump, and that's what the shocking part of it is. But also, let's take a look at this. From a Giants perspective, they have money to spend. People weren't taking their money now that they hit the trade market, and quite frankly, I thought they got a steal. You're talking about a guy that should be good in the major leagues for the next 7 to 8 years in his prime, and the going rate of a salary for a great baseball player on the free agent market, it's $300+ million. I thought San Francisco made out well here.
I thought they made out great. I think this is like a more of an issue from Red Sox ownership. Like they traded away Mookie. They weren't willing to give him whatever was the extra $30-40 million. Like, come on. They don't re-sign Bogarts in free agency. They traded away Chris Sale. They traded away Devers. Like this is every time there's a little bit of an issue, they just fold and they immediately ship that player away or just don't re-sign him. And they're also not getting premium returns. The return they got for Chris Sale was terrible. The return they got for Mookie Betts was they got Verdugo back and they let Verdugo go.
Remember that he was like the centerpiece of the trade. Like, Verdugo's going to be great. It's like, no, like Xander Bogaerts and Mookie Betts on the Boston Red Sox. Right? And it's like, man, this team might be set up for a dynasty. And again, we're not. Sometimes you look at like the Pittsburgh markets where they tell you they're small market, or the Cleveland Guardians market, or even Kansas City, who's finally starting to spend some money. Hey, we can't afford these players, and before they get to their absolute max, where we can't get them on arbitration anymore, we have to make the moves to get some really good players back in prospects. But the Red Sox shouldn't be like that. They should be like the Dodgers. Now, granted, I'm not going to spend as much as the Dodgers. Nobody does. But there's no way that they should be operating as a small market operation to say, you know what? If we move Devers, somebody has to blow us away here. We're not going to pay any of the extra salary. You're going to get him at this point, but we're going to get back unbelievable prospects and talent, and also major league ready talent. Not just two pitchers that might be good and you can throw them as a 3, 4, or 5 into your starting rotation. That's the tough part about it. But on the outlooks for the Red Sox and the San Francisco Giants, Tom, does it change any which way? Like it was such a big move, like, hey, San Francisco might be able to challenge for the NL West, or, ooh, that might gut the locker room now and Boston can't compete per se.
I would say the best way to look at the Giants, and I talked about this with Craig Mish the day after it happened on Newswire. Honestly, a Dodgers versus Giants NLCS matchup, like not either team to win, just direct matchup. I think that's interesting. I think the Giants will make the playoffs. I'm not going to bet them to win the NL West, but them making the playoffs, winning a round, absolutely. And then eventually season win total under for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Like, what do they have to play for now?
Yeah, we'll see what happens here in that point, but also coming up next, we got a lot of really good young baseball players about to get their Major League Baseball start this year. Some incredible defensive youngsters in Major League Baseball, and also more importantly, hitting some home runs. I want to hit that MVP market because somebody in the AL West is making a surge at Aaron Judge with 30 bombs. You know who that is. We'll explain it next.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the hitting back, but now that's starting to slide.
We can make a case for the Rangers. They showed some things. A team that the Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card. But I do think it's going to be a two-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Bring them up, bring them up, bring them up. What are we talking about right now? Well, it's Major League Baseball prospects, the only sport on this planet where organizations typically say, that's the best player I have, Tom Vecchio, in my organization. You're not going to see him for 3 or 4 years because I can't get the clock started, even if he's going to be really good. It doesn't make any sense. But how about this? The Cincinnati Reds going to buck that trend here. Chase Burns, the second overall pick in the 2024 draft, will be called up by the Reds, according to multiple sources. Looks like he's going to pitch on Tuesday. And from the looks of it, this guy looks like he's coming in Major League ready here, Tom Vecchio.
Yeah, looking at some of his minor league numbers are unbelievable, like truly unbelievable. Now, these aren't going to be sustainable at the major league level. So he started the year in high A and his strikeout rate was 44.4%. He moves up to double A, drops down to 36.4%, moves up to triple A, and it drops down to 30.4%. And that's what we do see from these like really high strikeout pitchers. It starts and gradually goes lower. So once he gets to the major league level, I would like to say he's going to be that 25, 26% strikeout type of pitcher, but that's awesome. That's really, really good. And, we got to look where the Reds are right now, where, obviously sitting a few games behind in the NL Central, but I think they can make a push for a wild card. So if you're looking to say, how do we look forward to a betting market for the Reds? It's probably a to make the playoffs type of bet. It wouldn't be to win the NL Central, but to make the playoffs with the pitching that they have. If they get Hunter Green back on top of Andrew Abbott, who's on the mound today, they got some pieces.
Yeah, Tom hit the nail on the head because we always know Tom loves the Great American Ballpark. But now you throw in an exciting lineup here, 1 through 9, and good young pitching if they can stay healthy. Like if you're a Reds fan, you got to feel good about that. So Major League debut coming up on a Tuesday. We'll see how he does fare. How about the other Major League debuts here? Looking at Mizorowski. I mean, 2 really good starts. The one thing sometimes you have an advantage of, and maybe even Chase Burns might have that, if you are coming up with devastating stuff, like Major League Baseball players, coaches, hitting coaches, they'll eventually get a book on you. But there's no book for seeing a guy for the first time. Mizorowski was fantastic so far in Major League Baseball, giving that boost to the Milwaukee Brewers starting lineup here.
Not only this most recent game against the Twins, which he lost it was a perfect game. He lost it on a questionable walk call to Byron Buxton, but he was awesome in his first start. He had the ankle, calf injury, whatever it was. And honestly, the Brewers need the pitching help. They have been injured since the beginning of the season. It's great to see him out there. Is he going to go out there and give us 4 or 5 innings of hitless ball every time? No, and eventually the hitters and opposing coaches will catch up, but it's great to see him. He's an absolute flamethrower. All good things for the Brewers and again, a competitive NL Central, a to make the playoffs type of bet would be the way to approach it.
And by the way, like let's just say the past week, Tom, you're just saying like, I'm not going to handicap. I just want to take Christian Yelich on a night-to-night basis. He has been a monster in the middle of that lineup as of late, which is as expected. He's been fantastic. But if we do flip it around here, a lot of times we talk about great starting pitching. We talk about great hitters at the plate, which we'll continue to do that throughout the show. How about great defensive players? Denzel Clark. If you're living under a rock, you haven't been watching any highlights. This guy is stealing baseballs left and right. He can hit worth a damn, but boy, he is so good at fielding. How about a 3.9 FWAR over 162 games would be unbelievable there. This guy can play defense. He can't hit, but in that ballpark, maybe you do need some defense.
Yeah, this is always one of the interesting dynamics I've always talked about. It's like, listen, what if a player literally never let a ball drop in the outfield, but he was hitting like 150? Right? Like we're getting to like, you see these stats, like a 35 WRC plus is obviously terrible. Like that is significantly lower than just the league average. But he's Spider-Man out there climbing the walls, not allowing balls to drop, robbing home runs. And that brings an element that the Athletics need. Like they will always need as much defensive help as they possibly can. And you let him hit 8th, 9th, you have those hitters above him, Wilson, Soderstrom, Rooker. We'll get to all these guys today. I honestly think it will work. You don't need him to get on base. You don't need him to have 30 home runs. That's why you have those guys at the top of the lineup. But bring some stability to center field. I like it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you think about it, too, because usually, like, we're not far removed in the National League from every guy in the 9 hole was just an absolute out because it was a pitcher. Now you're sliding it over. You like the extra bat, but if a guy is stealing runs per game, it's like, he doesn't hit. Well, he stole a run. It's the equivalent to having a big base hit and an RBI, so it's almost cancels each other out that you like that defense, particularly late in ball games here. We'll see how it pans out for him. Maybe Major League Baseball hitting for him. He'll get it under his belt, another 20, 30 games, and away he goes. But he has been absolutely fantastic on defense. I need a petition right now, Tom Vecchio, and I hope you sign this with me and we can crusade around. In Major League Baseball, just last year, and I remember us doing the first couple shows on Pro Baseball Today going like, you know what's beautiful about this season? Like the Oakland Athletics are no longer in Oakland. They're in Sacramento in a minor league ballpark, which lets all the elements come in. You don't have 3 football fields of foul territory to foul pitches off. You don't have 61-degree temperatures every night in the middle of the summer saying, hey, nobody can hit home runs. Then we take a look at Tampa, and one of the single worst hitting environments in Major League Baseball was Tropicana Field. Every time you saw, man, the Rays are good because they have pitchers that throw 100 miles an hour. They might get a key hitter here. It's 3-1, 3-2, and that game probably should have been 7-2 at some point. But now we see the Tampa Bay Rays outside in George Steinbrenner Field, heat, humidity, the ball is traveling. And how about this? You would probably think like, oh, that's not Rays baseball, Tom, right? They're used to the low-scoring games. That's how their team is built. How about since May 9th? First in runs, first in steals, third in ERA, third in WHIP, and a 27-13 record in Major League Baseball. This team is fun. This team is fun to bet, Tampa Bay. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, for the first time, I couldn't even tell you when. When was I the last time, interested in betting on the Rays offense in some capacity? I remember dating back to the Chris Archer years when he was there as their pitcher. Like, oh, Chris Archer,
man,
Blake Snell, Tyler Glass now. Like, oh, they got pitchers. That's who we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at unders and strikeout props. And it's not the case this year. I'm more surprised at the fact that they are maintaining this ERA and WHIP as a pitching staff overall, despite some bad starts from Taj Bradley, who I had on my fantasy team, got blown up earlier this week. Point notwithstanding, I would expect this to be just a high scoring, like, oh, they're scoring 10 runs and their opponents are scoring 8, but obviously their offense there. It's actually they're scoring 10 and they're only giving up 3 or 4 runs, which I think is far more impressive. So good things for the Rays right now. It's obviously a very tough AL overall, whether it's the AL East or the AL wildcard race, because we know when it comes to the Central, the Tigers are there. They have to worry about the Twins and the Guardians fighting for those spots, but great stuff from the Rays this year.
I love this. And again, it just comes from an aspect where when you handicap games, it's like, boy, what do I feel about that environment? Like when you go to Wrigley, it's like, well, first thing you got to do is check the windy conditions. Like at the Trop, it was like, just almost cross it off your card unless some tomato can was out there. And even if the tomato can was out there, home runs just seem to die on the warning track so many times, which aren't happening now. You take a look at Yandy Diaz, Brandon Lau, and Junior Caminero, fun guys to bet each and every day, like high weighted on base percentages here at a Tampa Bay, home or away. Fantastic stuff as it's played out here. We're going to get to the games next, which includes one player who might be getting chased down in the MVP race next.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the hitting back, but now that's starting to slide.
We can make the case for the Rangers. They shore up some things. A team that the Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card. But I do think it's going to be a two-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Let's get down to some business here. As we said, an 11:30 start in Major League Baseball today. You're going to get some of those games throughout the summer, and then we get started also in the 12 o'clock range. Typically, Tom Vecchio, we come on the show on Pro Baseball Today. It's like, okay, we handicap the games. Games start at 105, 110, 115, and you got an hour to decompress. You don't have that. We'll be live on the show today when the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles are going to do some business here. But before we get there, we've seen some, excitement so far in Major League Baseball, home runs flying out, the questions of who's going to be that MVP, which also looked like they were solved. And I'm going to start here with Aaron Judge. When I take a look at the FanDuel Sportsbook right now, like Aaron Judge was a minus 20,000 favorite just a few short days ago, and rightfully so. Having one of the best seasons you're going to see in Major League Baseball, 367 average, 27 bombs, 61 RBI, 87 strikeouts on the season, which again, say, oh man, he strikes out a lot. 367 average. You'll take every one of those strikeouts if that's what the batting average is going to be. But understand this, Cal Raleigh, and I don't know if it's just the Pacific Northwest where a lot of people don't pay attention, he's up to 30 bombs and has been streaking up the odds board here to a plus 750 price. Judge Raleigh, do we see this even get tighter here, Tom Vecchio, when a week ago we were just saying just give the MVP to Aaron Judge?
Ultimately, I do think it gets a little bit tighter. I think this is a situation where it's like both things can be true, or like 3-4 different things can be true depending on how you want to look at it. I think it will get tighter. Judge and the offense for the Yankees have been struggling overall. Cal Raleigh's doing amazing stuff. Although, with that said, I wouldn't bet on Cal Raleigh now. Like the point to take him was when he was at 20-1, 25-1. I wouldn't bet him at under 10-1. I also think a part of this is solely due to the positioning he plays as catcher. Like if Cal Raleigh was a first baseman or an outfielder, we generally see those positions producing more. And catcher generally has been a spot where we don't get a whole lot of production. Don, I think you would agree, like on a year-to-year basis, like there aren't amazing catchers. So the position that he plays combined with the home run streaking, I think will continue to bring his price down, but I also don't think it's worth betting.
You know, it's crazy, too. You look at Cal Raleigh. Like, it's not as if he plays it like Wrigley. It's like, hey, the wind blows out every day. He's catching luck, which he's playing in Wrigley right now and doing damage. Like, he plays in one of the leading ballparks in Major League Baseball. So from a vantage point of how does Cal Raleigh actually take down Aaron Judge, wouldn't it be the home runs when you figure they just have to slow down because of where he plays in Seattle? Like, if he hits 55 home runs, right, Tom, and he plays in Seattle, like you put on like the bell curve, in like 65 total home runs on the season. Like that's the type of season he have, but he does play with a penalty for me being in the Pacific Northwest.
He does. I'm trying to, we'd have to like get into it, like what he's on pace for, like those type of stats,
yeah.
But 60 home runs is obviously a lot, but like 55, 100 plus RBIs, that's on the table for Cal Raleigh. Plus, you'd add in, the curve because he's playing, whatever it's called. It's not Safeco anymore. I forget what it's called up in Seattle. But
T-Mobile, I think it's now. Yeah.
T-Mobile, that sounds right. There's some element like, listen, he's playing in a suppressed hitting environment, and he's exceeding those expectations and going toe-to-toe with Aaron Judge. There's an argument to be made in terms of him winning it, but again, the odds, not the spot right now. If he drops back and get him at 15-1, we can have that conversation in a couple weeks.
Absolutely. First game on the deck today. Let's get to it. 11:35 Eastern. That's 961, 962. It's Baltimore. It's New York. It's Kramer on the mound versus Will Warren. The side here opened up around minus 175 time overnight. Now up to minus 196 to as high as minus 210 across the sports betting landscape here. A total, though, opened up at 10.5, slightly down to 9.5. It's hot in the Bronx. Yesterday, the Yankees brought the bats and absolutely nothing from the Orioles. The Orioles get a little bit injured yesterday. Is this a walk-away victory that we're looking for the New York Yankees again today?
I think they win, but I also do not want to be laying minus 196 or whatever it is at this point for them, just because their offense has not been good up until yesterday. It has been pretty dreadful since that Red Sox series last weekend. Will Warren is super solid, 30% strikeout rate, 9.4% walk rate. He's not getting hit too hard overall, only 0.78 home runs per nine. I like what we saw from him. Can we see the strikeouts continue from him? Sure. I think the offense from the Orioles is really going to be the key to this game. So if we can kind of pencil in the Yankees against Kramer for their 5, maybe 6 runs, it really comes down to what we see from the Orioles. Can they add in 3 or 4 of their own to push us over the total? So when we're looking at the Yankees lineup just over the past 30 days, I mean, Judge with his ISO still up at 400 despite his struggles and all the strikeouts that he's had. Chisholm, Escar won't be in there because he played yesterday. Volpe, Rice, Bellinger, I like those. On the Orioles side of things, this is really where it gets interesting to me because we know that Rutschman went on the IL. You could look to someone like Hauser, but I'm still at a loss when it comes to Orioles lineup today, essentially. I don't know where to go.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like, oh, I hope they hit because it's hot weather in the Bronx. We'll see if it finds out here. By the way, also, Will Warren, one of those interesting guys. Last 30 days, Tom, 6.45 ERA, but a 3.17 xFIP number. One of those numbers like, ooh, do I trust the eyes or do I trust what's supposed to happen in the future? More Major League Baseball talk.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Astros right now have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the hitting back, but now that's starting to slide.
We can make a case for the Rangers. They shore up some things. A team that the Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card. But I do think it's going to be a two-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Going to be hot in the Bronx today, no question about that, as we just previewed that game and looking at the weather conditions here. Again, early, guys. Make sure you're getting this in if you want to wager on it. It's 11:35 Eastern first pitch, 87 degrees at first pitch, Tom. By the game is over, mid-90s here, double-digit winds blowing out to center field in that game. So, again, we opened up the topics here. I just want to hit this one more time. Like, sometimes these conditions are so good where it's like, I don't know if I want to take this batter. And it's like, you know what? The chances are you don't take him, and what happens? Oh, I really wanted Aaron Judge for 5+ bases. First time he's up, a home run. It's like I have the entire game to get one more base at a pretty good price. So again, Tom, for the people that might not have been watching to start the show here, how do we handle these conditions in great hitting ballparks with great temperatures?
Outside of a Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal, outside of like a prime DeGrom, if it's not those pitchers, if it's just like any middle-of-the-road type of pitcher, which is kind of largely what we have today, we're going to see some runs. So if you don't there's times like, I don't know who to nail it down. Just play a team total, right? You just play a team total there. You're going to score some runs. Doesn't matter who it does. You don't have to worry about that. If you want to take some shots with some plus money, you have to narrow that down to some players. Take a 2+ RBI, 3+ total bases, whatever it might be. Today, if I had to choose for the Orioles, it would be Jackson Holliday, Gunnar Henderson, Ryan O'Hearn is my top 3. And then for the Yankees, you could just roll Judge, Rice, Bellinger, Stanton, any combination of those for an HRR. Take 3 of them, get it close to even money.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And again, this game is going to be live in about an hour, and any updates that hit in that game while we're live on the show, we'll certainly bring those updates to you. No doubt about it. It's what we do on Pro Baseball Today every single Sunday right here on the SportsGrid Network. Game number 2 today, Tom, another early one, 12:10 start, 963, 964 on the rotation from Tampa. We talked about that ballpark, and we love it, and it's hot again today. It's Detroit, and it's Tampa. It's Casey Mize on the mound for the Tigers going to get Zach Littell. This line opened up roughly a pick 'em here, -115, -116. It's still around those range here. here, but an 8.5 total across the board. Is that because we expect the pitchers to hold down the bats today? What's going on down in Tampa?
So I do like the Tigers money line. I'm already on that. I got it at, I believe, minus 108, wherever it's moving around. But they're a good team, 3-game losing streak. I often talk about buying back in on good teams that are on losing streaks. I like Casey Mize as a pitcher. Littell's okay overall. 16% strikeout rate, obviously below the league average. Listen, a 3% walk rate from Littell is awesome. Just does not allow runners on base. But 2.14 home runs per 9. That is the concern when you add that in with a 42% fly ball. Right? As we talked about, great hitting weather there. And when we look to the Tigers lineup overall since, May 22nd, Wenzel Perez, I have to double check. Is he in the lineup today? He is in the lineup today, so we can certainly look to him.
Yeah.
260 ISO. Riley Green, who I really like today, 247 ISO. Colt Keith, who's leading off, 211 ISO. Kerry Carpenter, 179. We have multiple guys that have a ton of power. We can be looking at that side. Casey Mize pitching for the Tigers today. Good strikeout rate, 21.1%. Some struggles with some home runs as well. But, man, we talked about this Rays offense. Caminero, Chris Morel, Brandon Lau, Yandy Diaz, all ISOs at 186 or higher over the past month. I think we're going to see some runs today.
Yeah, and also we're taking a look there at Casey Mize seasonal statistics, 67 total innings pitched here, an ERA of under 3, which you like to see there. K's 59 on the season of whip, a little bit high, though, at 1.24. If you look at the pitching matchup today, analytically, over the past 30 days, 5 starts out of Zach Littell, 33 in innings pitched, 3.24 ERA, which is good, and not a bad xFIP number here, Tom, of 3.72. Then we take a look at Casey Mize over the past 30 days. How about 5 starts for him, 24 in the third innings pitched, at 3.70 ERA, and a slightly higher xFIP of 4.19. Temperatures in Tampa today, first pitch, 88 degrees with a wind blowing in of around 5 to 6 miles per hour, which is nothing. So the ball, once again, should travel today down there, Tom.
It really should. And what are we looking at? 8.5? I see this going over. I really do. I think Tigers come away with the win. They break this 3-game losing streak. I think it's obviously a toss-up. That's what the odds would suggest, but I don't think the over is a toss-up. I think we will see some runs. So, yeah, the Tigers lose, but they lose this type of game, like 7-5, 8-6 type of game. So if you just don't like the team total for the Tigers, which is kind of what I'm implying, they score some runs, they come away with the win, you can at least cash the team total, and if they lose on the money line, so be it.
The heat is on. It feels like that's what we're going to be talking about for the rest of today. And also, if you're a handicapper that still caps baseball Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays next week, we are in the hundreds here in the Northeast, and that ball is going to travel. And by the way, the Phillies and the Mets do play tonight. You saw yesterday, that ball was absolutely power charged in Philadelphia yesterday where the Mets got that victory. We'll talk about that much more, but just the smaller ballparks, the hitter-friendly ballparks in these atmospheres, boy, that ball is going a long way and certainly did yesterday in Philadelphia. But how about this? Instead of Philadelphia just yet, let's stay in the Keystone State and head out to Pittsburgh. How about Texas and Pittsburgh? That is the Rangers taking on the Pirates, 971, 972 on the rotation. 135 start. Leiter versus Falter on the mound today. A favorite overnight, which saw Texas around a minus 125. That's peeled down now here, Tom. We're looking at just about every outlet, let's just say de facto pick'em game. The opening number at 9, we're now seeing 9.5 creep in there, and Pittsburgh is a true pitcher's ballpark. We're in the 90s in Pittsburgh today, Tom. Get used to this theme.
Yeah, and this is one of the games I had the most interest in because in terms of asking you about it, because we always talk about the Pirates. And we're like, listen, they're going up against a terrible pitcher. I remember when they were out on the West Coast going up against Randy Vasquez, who is pitching today. We'll get to that later. But listen, Randy Vasquez is not a good pitcher for the Padres. But the Pirates, they don't have the pieces in the lineup that we look for if you were to look for 2-3 hitters, where it might be from an HRR market. Now we have the weather. So it's just factually better for everyone. But still, Cruz, McCutchen, Brian Reynolds, maybe a Spencer Horwitz, like those are the only guys I want to look to. So the question is, Donnie, it's like, are we trusting the weather? Are we trusting the lineup? Where do we go? Because we still know the Pirates aren't a good lineup. Even though Jack Leiter's had his struggles, do we love the Pirates today?
I'm telling you, like this, like if there's ever days, like sometimes again, you just look at the weather and say, if they're going to hit, it has to be today, or you just have to write them off is the feeling, right? And you're exactly correct in your handicap because you look at the pitchers today, and for me, there's 30 pitchers with at least 5 innings pitched over the last 30 days in Major League Baseball that are pitching today. And you take a look at those 30, you say, okay, well, where does Jack Leiter comes in? It's 26. Where does Falter come in? It's 24th. So you have 2 bottom pitchers on the card today with xFIP numbers, and then Pittsburgh. Like, what do we always hear about Pittsburgh? 66 degrees, slight wind blowing in. It's a pitcher's ballpark. 90 degrees at first pitch, which means by the middle of that afternoon, we're probably 92, 93, 94. Winds blowing out close to double digits to left field. So if there is something that's going to happen today, it feels like it's supposed to happen. Like Jack Leiter's xFIP is a 5.02. Falter is a 4.78. The weather conditions are phenomenal. And you're right, though. O'Neal Cruz looks good. You take a look at Andrew McCutchen over the last 30 days, looks good against right-handed pitching. But then it's Reynolds, as you said, Horwitz, Gonzalez, Bart, Frazier, Hayes, and Kiner Falefa. They all stink with power numbers. But again, I'm just playing this game and saying, if I don't see let's just say 4+ runs out of Pittsburgh, shut it down. Trey Paul Skeens, I don't want to hear it again. And same thing with Texas, who doesn't have a great lineup. And Corey Seager, hello, where you been? You still should be able to hit Bailey Falter in these temperatures today. So I'm with you, Tom. If I'm playing this game, it's just got to be I'm bending some of the rules I look at to say something has to give. Like, all right, 2 innings into the game, Pittsburgh's got 3 runs. Knew this was going to happen. Or we got I can't believe I bet this Pirates team it's the 5th inning. They have 2 hits and they haven't even got to second base yet. Like, I don't want to see that, but I'm with you on this. The weather conditions are conducive to bending the rules today for hitting.
It really is. I would say definitely Cruz is probably the best hitter in this game that I would trust. Cruz, McCutchen, Marcus Simeon's been super hot as of late. He has started off the season terribly. Him, Adolis Garcia. I would look to Wyatt Langford. Yeah, could I convince myself of a Josh Jung? If Sam Haggerty is leading off for the Rangers as well. But again, it always seems like when you bet on them, 1 hit over the first 4 innings, you're like, come, give me something. Today is the day with 90+ degrees and the wind blowing out, it has to happen for the Pirates today.
And also, it's got to happen for Texas as well. Like, you look at Jack Leiter on the mound. Like, again, in these conditions, it's like, is this guy a big strikeout pitcher? Can he get, nice and loose out there in that atmosphere and deal? That's not Jack Leiter. Last 30 days, 19% strikeouts here as a total. And to right-handed batters, only 15%. Look at Bailey Falter. 10% strikeout rate through his last 104 batters. What do we always like to say? Good things happen to offense if you just put the baseball in play. Wait, look at that. A 320-foot fly ball to left field on a normal day in Pittsburgh. Today, that might go 330, and it could be a home run or at least a double in the gap where the actual outfielder can't make the play. How about that? Texas and Pittsburgh, 2 bad lineups. And I'm saying bend the rules, Tom Vecchio, to make sure that we certainly get some runs here out in Pittsburgh. And O'Neal Cruz, maybe there's a good chance that guy hits a dinger today. No doubt about it. More Major League Baseball handicapping coming up next right here on Pro Baseball Today. It's Donnie Rightside. It's Tom Vecchio. It's a Sunday. It's where you're supposed to be, people, on the grid. We'll be back at it right after this short commercial break.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the hitting back, but now that's starting to slide.
We can make the case for the Rangers. They shore up some things. A team that the Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card. But I do think it's going to be a 2-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
More Major League Baseball on deck. And my goodness here, like, again, the common theme for today's Sunday show, it's wonderful because so many times we talk about it, Tom. Boy, it'd be a great game if that wasn't 52-degree temperatures in mid-June here with the wind blowing in. We don't have that. Even in Toronto, our friends north of the border, Tom, that roof is going to be opening close to 90-degree temperatures up there in the 6. If we take a look at the Chicago White Sox taking on the Toronto Blue Jays, 965, 966 on the rotation, a 137 start. Hauser's going to be on the mound versus Bassett. This number overnight, minus $2 or higher at most outlets here. Still sitting there today. Minus 205s, minus 210s, minus 218s in the marketplace. A total which was 9 overnight still sits at 9 today. Hauser versus Bassett. Hot conditions in Canada. Oh, we love to see that.
We'd love to see it. And I got to say, the White Sox have been kind of pesky as of late, like coming away with wins. They're getting some offense going. And I honestly, and this is something that, Donnie, we've talked about before, like we don't necessarily share our plays prior to the show. We like to come in kind of blind. 2 weeks in a row now on the Sell Me segment, you have gone with White Sox players. I don't know if you have a White Sox player picked today for the Sell Me segment, not today. But you look at this lineup against Bassett, like Benintendi, Vargas, Tauchman, your guy, like they have some ISOs that are sitting at like 178, 180 or higher versus Bassett, who is in the midst of a good season. There's no doubt about it. And granted, Chris Bass is not a pitcher that I've loved, but a 357 xFIP is pretty darn good for a pitcher that doesn't necessarily have a super high strikeout rate at 22.3%. Walk rate is at 5.4%. I think the money line is a bit much for the Blue Jays, considering how good the White Sox have been playing. But on the other side, Adrian Hauser, just a gas can of a pitcher. 18.8% strikeout rate, 8.5% walk rate. Home runs necessarily aren't there, but man, this Blue Jays offense has been pretty darn solid as late. Since May 22nd, Barger, 333 ISO, Springer, 317, Kirk at 246, Bobichette 232, and Vladdy Guerrero at 195. I think we see some offense from the Blue Jays today.
And you look at the Blue Jays, too, that lineup coming into it last 30 days against right-handed pitching. If you take away Addison Barger, again, it's not bad at 24.7%. He's making it up for there in ISO and weighted on base percentages. Clase in that 9-hole. Everybody else doesn't strike out in that lineup, which, again, 91-degree temperatures in Toronto with the wind blowing out to right field. Like, that roof better be open. Hey, they don't have air conditioning in that dome, right? Even if they close the dome, there can't be any air. Like, why would you put an air conditioner in Toronto at this point? What's the highest it gets there in the summer? Maybe today at 91 degrees, which we should see some things amp up. But if you are looking at Bassett, his last 30 days, Tom, 29 innings pitched. How about a 5.59 ERA and a 4.56 xFIP number still elevated? The interesting thing, though, is you take a look at Hauser. He's got a 270 ERA over the past month and a 376 xFIP number, which is interesting to me. But I really like that Toronto lineup. Used him yesterday in an alt-team total parlay. Easily got that by, I believe, the second inning today. We should see numbers. And again, you're just taking a look at these lineups and saying, maybe it's not the greatest from a White Sox perspective. A couple guys that you can certainly dig into, but Bassett has been struggling slightly, but just the environment once again. Let's also remember, like Toronto, the roof opened 91 degrees, and they just changed the outfield, let's just say fences and moved them in the past year and a half. Like, we're just looking at this saying, again, you might just have to bend those rules and say, if there is a day today to hit, it's certainly going to be in Toronto. The temperature will not get any better in Toronto the rest of this summer than what you are going to see today with these type of conditions.
It's true, and we take Bassett on a pitcher who I think we'd agree is maybe on a slight downslope right now. Is a little bit of a decline, plus the hitting environment, plus probably favorable numbers when it comes to the betting odds. That's ultimately what we do care about probably the most. Combination of those three things in the mix today, it really does shape up for the White Sox, the Pirates, to get things going on offense and give us good betting options.
Let's go, man. Heat and humidity, that's what we love. Now, heat and humidity is usually always a thing down on South Beach. And again, Miami does have the chance to close that roof like they do at Lone Depot Field. Today, let's see what happens, because yesterday, finally, the Atlanta Braves, like, you know what? Boy, we had a great series and got back into it against the New York Mets. And then we go and lay a dud down there in South Beach and say we just can't win any baseball games. Yesterday, a bounce back for Atlanta with an easy victory. Elders on the mound versus Alcantara today, 9:51, 9:52 on the rotation. This game's going to start at 1:40 this afternoon. A side here is the favorite for the Braves. Right around that 145 price overnight. Some places slightly higher, Tom, 148s. Some places slightly lower at about 136. The total in this game listed at 8.5 across the board. Elder versus Alcantara. How are we looking today down on South Beach?
I think the Braves continue to roll. Obviously, their offense got going yesterday. I don't want to lay the minus, 154 right now. So it's the scenario. It's like, I think they win. I don't like the price on them. That's what it really comes down to. Really comes down to looking at Sandy. And He started off the year terribly. He had a couple good starts recently. Two of those starts were against the Pirates and the Rockies, if I remember correctly. So we do have to take those with a bit of a grain of salt. Good performances against bad teams. Is that a good thing, a good game, or is it a sign of good things to come? I still think I want to trust the Braves offense overall when we're looking at this. Acuna, 324 ISO, Matt Olson, 280. Riley's dropped down to 160. I think that those are the main three players I want to look at, but I think it comes down to what do we get from the Marlins offense, because it has been highly inconsistent, but they do have some power in that lineup. Looking to a Sanchez potentially, maybe not in this split for Ramirez, but I kind of like the potential that they do have overall.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at, too, because, again, usually you just say, look, Alcantara's on the mound. He's always going to be the better pitcher than just the majority of the guys he's going to face. But you look at today also, like Bryce Elder is 6th on the card with xFIP numbers coming into this game today at a 3.40. He's elevated number on ERA, about a 4.32, but not too bad. But you're right about that. You look at that Florida lineup and say, well, just because you have really bad pitching, and again, I'm not saying they had that for Elder, somebody has to be able to certainly work that on the opposite side. Jesus Sanchez, Otto Lopez over the past 30 days have really good statistics against right-handed pitching, but the rest of that lineup, Augusta Ramirez, Kyle Stowers, Eric Wagaman, Liam Hicks, Connor Norby, and Dane Myers, all really low ISO power and weighted on base percentages here, even though if you're saying, Donnie, you got to give me one guy to go with. You say Bryce Elder over the past 30 days against left-handed hitting, he's only saw 32 batters, but they've been getting the best of him. And Jesus Sanchez, 71 at-bats against right-handed pitching over the past month at 242 ISO power number and a 379 weighted on-base percentage. You take a look at Sandy Alcantara. He's actually struggling with batters from the left-hand side on the season, Tom, and the past 30 days. You look in that lineup, like Matt Olson finally getting it together against right-handed pitching just over the past month, that 250 ISO, 412 weighted on base percentage. But what I like even better, Tom, only an 18% K rate. Love that. Olson probably should get some damage done today.
Yeah, pitchers that don't strike out a ton or strike out hitters at a high rate, that means the ball is going to be in play. They're pitching to contact. Those are the type of hitters that can come through and succeed and cash us props.
By the way, Tom, we got a game coming up next. And if you hear Quinn Priester, which I love to fade this guy, like, man, I've faded him in the past. I don't know if we're fading him right now. Where do you see these statistics on my guy, Quinn?
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis, because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West, because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the hitting back, but now that's starting to slide.
We can make the case for the Rangers. They shore up some things. A team that the Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card. But I do think it's going to be a two-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
about this? You usually hear like Milwaukee Brewers, Minnesota Twins. It's a boring game. Maybe nothing's going to happen there. It's in, Minnesota. The rest of the country is warm temperatures. They're still on the cool side. That is not the case today. And we're going to start there again. The common theme for today's show on June 22nd, right here on Pro Baseball Today, Tom, what are the weather conditions? In Minnesota, we just talked about Toronto, 91-92 at first pitch. How about Minnesota today? Windy conditions, which I'll explain in a minute. 93 to 94 degree temperatures in Minnesota with really, it's a crosswind, but helping to left field at sustained winds, Tom, of 17 miles an hour. We're not used to that in Minnesota, right? We're not getting, hey, man, heat and humidity in the ballpark. You're getting that today. Today, it's Priester versus Festa on the mound, two right-handed pitchers, 973, 974 on the rotation, a 210 start today. The favorite overnight, minus 160 for Festa and the Twins. Right now, Tom, minus 125s, minus 130s. That's dropping. 10s overnight are actually dropping to 9.5. The reason I brought up Quinn Priester as a tease, his last 30 days, and this is a guy in his past, I love the fade. Look at the numbers. Over his last 5 games, 3 of these games have started. 29 innings pitched, a 186 ERA and a 3.04 xFIP number. But when we look at the lineup today and say, all right, well, he's having a good season. What are the Twins doing? First 8 batters in that lineup, all really good weighted on base percentages against right-handed pitching. So I'm going to start with this. Hot, humid temperatures here. I like this Twins lineup is starting to wake up. Priester's been really good. Are we bending rules again, saying, well, eventually it's going to get up to Priester? He doesn't strike out a lot of guys. He's got phenomenal numbers, but that lineup should hit because why? 95-degree temperatures around here in Minnesota.
Yeah, so when we're looking at Quinn Priester, I think this is the spot that I would say, like, we're going to get the shoe's going to drop, where, yes, he has been good, but looking at some of his numbers, like, he's been good. He hasn't been striking out hitters, and the thing that I would point is, like, is he getting a little bit lucky where 259 BABIP, which is batting average of balls in play, does not include home runs. Like, it's 259. Last year was at 299 for him, 295. So I think this would be the spot. Like, listen, the Twins offense has been moving. Give me some combination of Wallner, Buxton, maybe even a Cody Clemens at the top, throwing Trevor Larnach, Ryan Jeffers. These guys don't strike out at a super high rate outside of Matt Wallner. I think the offense is going regardless of how good Priester has been in recent outings. Then when it comes to David Festa, this is just not a pitcher that I'm worried about overall. Again, it's too hot. It's too hot for there to be suppressed offense. And the Brewers' offense has been great.
By the way, you take a look at that Brewers offense, too, because just looking at the numbers for Festa, last 30 days, only 13 1/3 innings pitched. But how about that ERA, Tom? 8.10. How about the xFIP? 4.86 here, extremely high. And if you're just looking and saying, well, which way can we like to get after him? I told you to start this show, like, boy, Christian Yelich has been unbelievable this season so far. His last 61 at-bats over the past 30 days against right-handed pitching. How about a 259 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 448? You look in the last 25 batters that Festa has faced as left-handed batters, a 286 ISO and a 418 weighted on-base percentage and a 12% strikeout rate to those left-handed batters here. So maybe Yelich has a chance certainly to do some damage. But it looks like, Tom, you get that ball in the jet stream as, let's just say, a right-handed batter and pull it down the line. I don't know how you don't come up with a home run every single time. Like, if we're looking at like 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left field in 93-degree temperatures, that should be a fun game. And as I said, you look at Quinn Priester, really good numbers, but the same thing could be said about the Minnesota Twins there, really good numbers on offense for themselves. We'll see what plays out here. So if we look at what was the total in this game? So I said it was, 10 at the opening number, and it's come down to 9.5. Again, just an environment. So many of these high totals. Like, I do think, even though I said, like, great starts here for Priester, 3 or 4 earned runs in this environment, that's not a devastatingly bad day from a starting pitcher.
No, it's not, but, I would bank on the offense more than I would bank on Quinn Priester, especially in this with the wind blowing out. A routine fly ball, as we talk about, a routine fly ball turns into a home run. A hit that could be a single turns into a double. So I think Quinn Priester is okay, but he also hasn't sold me enough to be like, oh, I'm going to trust him when it's 90+ with the wind whipping out.
Exactly. Now, also, we're going to set this game up. We're going to get to it after the break. Look at that, how quickly hour number 1 goes down. Because why are we having so much fun? Because guys that like to talk about hitting and batting props here, the weather and the wind has been absolutely fantastic. You say, well, sooner than later, guys, it's going to have to stop. Well, I'm here to tell you. The Cincinnati Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals, it's not here to stop. Like, we are, like, you're talking about, like, heat warnings all over the place. This game, Tom, is going to start at 93-degree temperatures. By the end of it, 96 to 97-degree temperatures here. And that's not the real feel. That's the absolute temperature. And also, hey, is there going to be any wind in or rain in the forecast? Nope. How about wind? Oh, yeah, forgot to tell you. 12, 13 miles an hour sustained to left center field. So get used to it today. This could be one of those epic days, epic weekends, epic Saturday, Sunday, Mondays, and Tuesdays with the expectations here. We're going to hit Reds Cardinals at the top of the hour next. More home runs? Oh, we love that.